Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. So it's been a long time coming. It's not surprising to many of us. Alexis Sharkey's death has been ruled a homicide. She disappeared on Friday, November the 27th, very close to Thanksgiving, and that's almost 2 months ago. And you've got to kind of wonder, why did it take this long just to establish her cause of death? And so now we know that it was a homicide, but it does make you wonder, why was it so hard to determine? And I think there could be a couple of explanations for that. One explanation could be, on the face of it, there were no injuries, external injuries to Sharkey, so it's possible that the injuries were, let's say, subcutaneous or subtle to an extent, almost in the sense that she was strangled. I won't say gently, but in a way that there was minimal signs of what happened to her. Right? That's externally. The other side of it is, often when someone is asphyxiated, you are going to get petechial hemorrhages. When I say often, I basically mean virtually every time. So when someone is asphyxiated, those small little capillaries in the eyes, in the cheeks, also to some extent in the lungs, burst as the body fights to survive. These small, fragile little veins break open, and that is often a sign of someone who was asphyxiated, right? Now, I'm not sure why. We don't have any photos to go by. We don't have the details of the autopsy either. All we know is that the autopsy revealed strangulation. Another important giveaway for death by asphyxia is damage in the lungs. The lungs rupture. Small little vessels in the lungs rupture. In the same way, those vessels in the face rupture. And in some victims, there's even bleeding in the lungs, like quite a lot of bleeding in the lungs, and amongst other things. So but you still got to ask, why did it take 2 months to establish this? Now, it may be that the injuries were very, very subtle. It may be that there was something besides strangulation. Maybe a substance was used at the same time. It's also possible that because of COVID-19, the coroner was very backed up. And bear in mind, in America right now, there's a lot of coronavirus going on, so that is also a possibility. You could also have both. You could also have the possibility that the coroner was struggling to find the evidence, and perhaps a second autopsy was done, as does happen in cases, and possibly that, in combination with the circumstances, led to this delay. Another possibility is that there was also toxicology that was run, and that can sometimes take quite a lot longer. And again, you might also have a backlog where you have toxicology in a criminal case, and then that is in a queue related to possible toxicology in other civil autopsies. I'm not sure if they go into the same queue. I wouldn't really know about that, but it certainly is a possibility. Now, obviously, we're talking about a homicide investigation. That is the result of the findings of the autopsy. It now officially becomes a homicide investigation. Someone on Patreon just reminded me that there was a little bit of disjointed information that came out shortly after she was found, where someone said that Alexis had told her that, I won't say who it was, but that somebody would choke her until she was unconscious, and then she'd wake up on the bathroom floor. I'm not sure if this had to do with a sort of a sexual game or something like that, or whether it was something that she didn't want to happen, but apparently this happened quite often. It's possible that this death was something along those lines, and it's also possible that obviously it wasn't, that it was due to specific dynamics. I've got a feeling, and that's all it is. I mean, this is based on very, very little information. It's just scant information on the circumstances, so based on very, very little information, I've got a feeling that this crime took place as a result of jealousy. And it's really based on a very thin way of slicing through the circumstances of this case, specifically just that Sharkey is a very attractive young woman. She's 26 years old, she's young, she's attractive. And if you just think of it in a very basic way, if someone is in a relationship with her or wants to be in a relationship with her, and she's decided that she's not interested in the person she's with, or she's chosen to be with somebody else, or she's chosen not to be with a particular person, there could be strong, very, very strong feelings of kind of indignation and being undermined and feeling insignificant and feeling impinged. Basically just feeling a feeling of rage and hurt that you can't control this person anymore, that they are leaving you. And so it's possible that this is a murder as a result of someone feeling incredibly jealous. Now, if I compared this crime to a couple of other crimes, if you look at the Chris Watts case, I don't think that was a case of jealousy. So, for example, I don't think Chris Watts strangled his wife because he was jealous of his wife. I think he strangled his wife because she would have been jealous of his mistress. Does that make sense? So in other words, it's an imputed fear of jealousy, right? Then another example is that someone mentioned that this crime is similar to is Reeva Steenkamp, who was murdered by Oscar Pistorius, and I think jealousy was also a factor there, but for very different reasons. But you also had an influencer, someone who's very public, and someone who's that beautiful, who's very visible on social media, is probably going to make another person feel quite insecure about the attention that they're getting all the time, you know. Just a third case I just want to quickly mention is Jason Roeder. He's actually trying to appeal his case at the moment, but that is a case where a businessman was sort of actively having an affair with, I think, a colleague, and his wife was actually at a conference where the mistress was present, and there, once again, I think you have a situation of he didn't kill his wife because he was jealous of his wife. If he killed his wife, it looks like he did so. It looks like a possible motive for doing that could have been that that the mistress would have been jealous, if that makes sense. Similar to Chris Watts. In other words, I'm afraid that my wife is going to get in the way here. I'm afraid that she's going to be an obstacle. And her jealousy is going to pose essentially an existential threat to our relationship. And so I must do X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? I want to conclude this brief analysis by briefly referring to some of the words Alexis's husband Tom said about her. He said something like, there's always other sides to everything. He says, I was the one holding her, cuddling her, and building her back up, right? Now, when he says building her back up, that seems to suggest that Alexis was someone who didn't have a strong self-image, or that she was feeling insecure and that she was feeling inadequate. And I just wonder, I'm just speculating, but I wonder whether that's not Tom Sharkey projecting. This whole idea, projecting perhaps his inadequacy on his very young, attractive wife, that maybe perhaps he felt insecure about her and he needed building back up. Maybe he felt that he needed to feel secure in their relationship. After all, she was the one that came to harm in the situation. I don't know whether what is trying to be suggested here is that she took her own life, but it just doesn't make any sense if that is the suggestion. And I mean, that has now been countered with this evidence of being asphyxiated, of being strangled. It just doesn't make any sense that you would commit suicide naked and in the outdoors. And a very good example of a case like that where it doesn't make any sense is the Rebecca Zahau case, especially because I don't think this is really a matter of argument across cultural boundaries, but the Asians in particular are very modest in that respect, and you just wouldn't imagine someone hanging themselves from a balcony in the outdoors naked. You just cannot imagine that happening. And interestingly, in the Jason Roeder case, you also had the situation of this woman hanging on the back of the hotel door, basically naked. And it doesn't make sense, because these people, if you commit suicide, that is the premeditated murder of yourself. You know you're going to be discovered. Do you want to be discovered in a humiliating state like that? And the answer is probably not. The final point to make, personally, I feel that the date of her death around Thanksgiving is significant. It matches the circumstances surrounding Kelsey Bereth's disappearance as well. What happens during Thanksgiving? Well, you might realize you no longer want to be in a particular situation with a particular person. Perhaps you feel you or someone else isn't thankful, either for you or you not thankful that for the other person. Thanksgiving is a little bit like Valentine's Day, where you reflect on whether you love somebody or whether you think somebody loves you. And it's also a time when sometimes other people might approach you, and say, well, do you want to spend that day with me? Can I give you this gift? Can I tell you this kind of thing? Another thing that I think is just very obvious is if someone noticed Alexis, found her attractive and wanted to communicate with her and flirt with her, well, there was the platform, Instagram, and all those photos of herself, those selfies, would have been feeding the sense of perhaps infatuation. And if she was on her phone more than usual, who would feel kind of impinged by that? Who would feel insecure about that? So the other thing about a strangling homicide is it suggests a crime of passion. It's an intimate crime because the perpetrator has to be physically beside his victim, just as you can imagine with Chris Watts. So who had that kind of access to Alexis, and who had something to feel passionate, in other words, emotional about, regarding Alexis Sharkey? So we will be watching this investigation closely on True Crime Rocket Science, and hopefully her killer will be brought to justice. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time.